Hello to my Virgo and my Virgo risings. Welcome to your horoscope astrology for the Lunar Eclipse happening in Scorpio. This is a big one. This is going to be the moment in time to watch the shedding begin. So the moon is going to experience eclipses on the Scorpio-Taurus axis until I think July 2023. So all of the potential shifts and changes that you might be feeling coming up or in your periphery, in your energy, are going to be set off. The spark's going to be lit. The 15th of May if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, the 16th of May if you're in the Southern Hemisphere with me. Now, all of this is playing out in your third house. Now, when we think about the third house, we think about our localized environment. It's our village. It's our area of life where messages are sent. It's how we are picking up on our surroundings and what information is being transposed through our neighborhood. Mercury is also gestation retrograde a few days ago. So at the point of this eclipse, it will still be in that retrograde position. When Mercury, our messenger, the planet of the transference of information, the planet of intelligence and getting the message across, when that planet is in the station retrograde position, which means from our vantage point, it appears it's going backwards. The planet actually isn't taking a U-turn, but from our vantage point on Earth and the way that our orbit is intermingling with Mercury's orbit of the Sun, it's a visual illusion, it's an optical illusion. It appears that it's going backwards. So taking that idea, the idea of breakdowns in communication or malfunctions in that way, being misunderstood or misread, are likely to happen with Mercury alone. But to have a massive, big, fat lunar eclipse in your third house, which is where Mercury is most at home, is going to possibly bring about some big screeches when it comes to the way that you're putting your message across. Have a think about your patience. You're very capable and you will often do the job yourself if there's no one else to do it. That's kind of something that you're kind of fine with, and it's quite lovely of you to be so generous with that ability of yours to move things through and to get things done. You're very adept at passing on information and translating information. Mercury is your planetary ruler, so that idea of ingesting knowledge and then transferring it to others or transferring it to a situation is your specialty. The eclipse is here to change that, and not change that forevermore, but definitely to intervene, perhaps in some of the more strict ways that you approach these sorts of things, some of your sensible sensibilities. The tarot card that represents the point that this eclipse is happening is 25 degrees of Scorpio, is the Seven of Cups. And this is the card that is the card of indecision and an illusion. It's the card of the what ifs, the part of our experience that hypothesizes what might happen or what could happen. What are the options? Where could we go? It's a card of indecision. It's a card that probably pisses you off quite a lot as a Virgo. So this is what's happening. I think that there is something to consider about the opposition of this eclipse for you. So if the moon's in Scorpio, the sun is full beams in Taurus. And the card that represents 25 degrees of Taurus is the Seven of Pentacles, that moment of just finishing having planted everything and sitting there with your garden gloves on and staring at the crop and willing it to be in blossom before it's time. Getting a bit sort of annoyed at the labor maybe and not being able to see the fruits of what's going on. Sort of being deplete of energy, but also deplete of patience. So this is really interesting. The tarot is kind of echoing perhaps what you might be feeling at the moment, and also what might be shedding, what might be sort of either leaving your personality, leaving your existence. Maybe you've learned these lessons. You've learned these lessons of co-creation in terms of communication and sharing messages, and also interpretation, how every message is different for different people. That could be something that you're experiencing and your eyes are being open. It could also maybe highlight your frustration with those that don't get their act together, or those that can't get their act together, or not in the way that you'd like it to be. There's a very independent sense that I get from Virgos always. They're incredibly there for everyone. They're, one of the great healers of the zodiac. But they're just as happy by themselves. If we remember the Hermit, that is the Virgo card. So we must always kind of have empathy for ourselves. If that energy ever crops up in our experience, that we'd much prefer just to be alone, and we'll be fine. We'll just do it ourselves. There's a really difficult aspect to go with this full moon eclipse, even if the full moon eclipse wasn't difficult enough already. Saturn, our planet of rules and restriction and sometimes oppression in a low vibration. In a high vibration, it's the manual, which you love. Saturn is in Aquarius, and your 6th house is ruled by Aquarius. Now, Virgo traditionally rules the 6th house. The 6th house is full of Virgo traits. There's a lot of correlation between the identity of a Virgo and the lessons that we learn in our 6th house. It's the house of our everyday tasks, of paying the bills, of showing up, chopping the firewood, getting shit done, for want of a better phrase. The T-square is a difficult aspect. The T-square is a moment when the planets fight for supremacy in some way. There's a jarring sort of bottleneck happening in the opposing energies. So for Saturn, who is quite at home in Aquarius, they rule Aquarius, so that's perfect for them, but they're showing up in your 6th house. So if there's rules and regulations and a manual that you've been working with that's been thrown to the wayside because of this eclipse, and others around you are sort of moving with that and sort of, loving the bit of chaos magic, and you're getting really finicky about everything, remember that this is an opportunity for you to shed some of this stuff. On the very same coin, the other side, if there's folks around you that are just dragging their feet and not getting it done, not getting it together, and it's been a long time, and you've made agreements and you've made plans together and they've just not been able to get their shit together, then this full moon might be the opportunity for you to shed some of that. It might be the opportunity for you to seek out the environment that you're going to thrive in, the environment that's going to best serve you. That could be a really good way to look at this eclipse as well. But let's always co-create. Let's look at the pros, the cons, let's look at their perspective and our perspective. That's what Aquarius does. So that's your day-to-day. You can't help it. You're very Aquarian in your daily rituals. So keep that in mind. I think probably because Mercury is vulnerable right now, and that's what you usually rely on, that messenger, I would look to Saturn for some guidance in this full moon. It's a full moon in Scorpio, so it's deep emotions, big stuff is going to come out and change. Maybe from you, maybe there's some stuff that you've been hanging on to in the pit of your belly that your 3rd house is just going to vomit out everywhere. If that happens, give yourself a break, that's okay, but make sure that you make reparations for any ruptures that may happen because of this. It's going to be a good lesson for you, Virgo. It's going to be really great over this next time. It's going to be an opportunity for you to loosen up some of that dedication you have to the rule book. So I'm looking at the 3 tarot cards that denote each of the 25 degrees of Aquarius, Taurus, Scorpio that are forming that T-square. I also pulled out 3 cards just for my Virgos, just so we can sort of get a greater picture of what's going on for you. We've got the 5 of Wands, which is the petty squabbling. It's the sort of fight for supremacy. We've also got the 9 of Pentacles, which does talk about that independence, that sort of breakaway. It's the nine of Pentacles is a high vibration hermit. She's taken the hermit's lesson and she don't need no one. In the center of your personal reading, I have the Moon, which is my favorite card. It's perfect for this eclipse, and it's an opportunity for what's simmering beneath, what's hiding below the surface, to come out and to move through, and for some of your more primal instincts to take up some room in your existence. Full moon blessings, my dear Virgos. Happy lunar eclipse. I'm thinking of you all the time. If you would like a personal reading, I am offering them on my website at umaruby.com. You can buy yourself a personal tarot reading, or you can get yourself a birth chart reading. Both are available through the links in the offering section of my website. There's also some more information about the painting project that I'm working on, and a whole bunch of different thoughts and musings that I'm developing over this next bit of time. Much love, and I'll speak to you in 2 weeks when we can take a rest from this ecliptical nightmare and we can look forward to a gorge new moon in Gemini. Take care.